But that's a little bit about this church and of course the Lewis family. But the Lewis family is one of many families that grew up here that was influential in starting this community. Okay, but Edna rose to fame. But the entire community was a community of resilience and determination, and the history is one that should never die. But as slaves, the members of this church served with Macedonian Christian and the North Pamunkey churches. And they are right up the road, most of them within walking distance. And they used to go in using a side door, and they were allowed to serve, but they had to be in the balcony of the church. And they would go and they would hear the scriptures and interpretations, and that's where they learned by observing how to form and start their own church. And the founders of this church, they started out at another church, and it's on this road. It's called Mount Pleasant Baptist Church, and the members broke off from that church and built this church in 1890. And I'm not going to name the pastors. They've had different pastors there through the years. But one of the biggest days in the Black Baptist Church is the revival time. And that's when all of the people that had fled, they come back for this special service. And it was a big day in the Baptist Church. The services during the week were nightly and on Sunday, Tuesday and Thursday during the day. They spent a lot of time in the church house. And this church at one time had over 200 members. Okay, so you can imagine people, gathering for the service, especially during that homecoming day. And I've been to a lot of these homecomings, and people would be all over the grounds, and that's where they would cook, bring their foods from home, and they would cook feed their families and so forth. But during that baptism service on Friday night, during that revival service for a week, baptism was held on the Friday. And most of the time a lot of the churches where baptism was held in the river or creek. Myself, I was baptized in the Rapidan River. Okay.
Then 1892, that community started this church. Still no Edna Lewis. This is still the grandfather in the family. Then her mother was Daisy Poindexter Lewis, and we have Poindexters now in Orange County. One spoke at an African American Scholars Banquet the other night. He teaches at the high school. So that name is still in Orange County. They had eventually had 6 children, I think. So there was Lou Stanley, Virginia, Jenny, Edna, George, Ruth, and Naomi, I think were the 6 children. So those children weren't born until the first one was Lou Stanley in 1913. So we're gradually getting the Freetown communities growing, they're marrying, having more children. Now there's many grandchildren, and Edna is one of those children. Isabella Lightfoot, meanwhile, married a Mr. Graves from Orange, so she was Mrs. Graves' teach for a while. And then eventually he did not live long, and she married a Mr. Lightfoot from Culpeper. And that's where the name came.
Ms. Lewis was my family quite a bit now. I talked to her niece, Nina, yesterday. I talked to her son. And I talked to Mr. Taylor, who now is the caretaker and owner of Freetown, the area of Freetown. And this coming April 13th, we're doing a birthday celebration for Ms. Lewis, Dr. Lewis. And Dr. Lewis Kingston, we don't really talk about her. She was married, and she had a husband, and she carried his name. Because of his political dealings, they kind of didn't support, because coming from these communities, how we work together communally made many individuals gravitate toward the idea of communism and socialism, because we worked together. But during the McCarthy era, that was a no-no, right? You could not have any association with any of those things. My great aunt, Margie Lightfoot, I don't know how that, I'll let you work on that.
Isabella had no children.
She didn't have any children, but I'm sure she was a cousin or something. But I felt when after she transitioned a couple years ago, I found a letter in her belongings to the federal government saying that she had no affiliation with a certain individual, her former husband, and his communist and socialist dealings. That she had to write that to maintain her job. Right? And these are some of the nuances of history that we don't really talk about as much. That she couldn't be as free as she wanted to be, or express as she wanted to be. But her greatness was because of that. The reason why she wanted to support local farmers when she was in New York is because she supported local farmers when she was in Virginia. She didn't know any better.